Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Super Tease video. We've been getting tuning adjustments, and more tuning adjustments pretty much every single week. They've experimented with some things, rewinded and gone back on it, and I feel like this patch honestly has more class changes than literally the release of the expansion. And in today's video, I wanted to cover some of the specializations that I think are really starting to shine, and that I'm really actually enjoying with the changes that are coming through and how awesome and fun they're feeling, so you can get an idea of what to start looking at for yourself as far as deciding on a main. I'm really impressed with the amount of focus that they've put onto secondary hero talent options. You can see right now I'm logged onto the Arcane mage, and I think mage in general is getting a lot of attention when it comes to both of their hero talent trees, regardless of specialization. I've spent a lot of time with Arcane in season 1 playing Spell Slinger, and I've really enjoyed it. I love the animations. I feel like the Needler in Halo just shooting out tons of other extra missiles, but I was really hoping to get a little bit of options and explore something new with this patch. I think that's likely going to be the case when we get in onto the training dummies here and show you what Sun Fury is now actually capable of, because Sun Fury was the Kael'thas fantasy. It was summoning in that Phoenix pet and blasting down targets with these giant fire spheres above your head, which you can see right now I've currently collected 5 of them, and this is going to enable us to do monstrous amounts of burst damage. So we're going to start our setup by using Evocation. This is going to give us a proc of Arcane Missiles. We'll use Arcane Surge, Touch of the Magi into missiles, into double barrage. We'll proc orbs throughout that into another missile, into double barrage, and we can dump massive damage. You can see that we're doing like upwards of 8 million damage. I haven't even used any of my arcane spheres. We've got our Phoenix behind us just blasting the target down in front of us, and it is really fun. The buffs that they've made to the barrage damage when I show you on recount are absolutely astounding. You're getting tons of procs, just getting monstrous burst damage. You're absolutely shredding multiple targets. It is really satisfying to play in that sense. And Spell Slinger is still exactly the same as it was last patch. It's still just as good. It's still just as fun with no kind of significant loss in that sense between those cooldowns. So Arcane for me was like the #1 most fun spec, you know, when I was making videos up to the release of the War Within. I was talking about Arcane. I feel like there's no way this doesn't get nerfed. I mean, just look at this, right? Like, this is week after week after week of buffs. Arcane Barrage and that couple of whatever that was, 1 minute of attacking the training dummies, I did 123 million damage. It's 56% of my overall damage. Our Arcane Phoenix, which was the next highest, was only 20 million damage. Barrage is absolutely ridiculous. It's going to be so broken. This is going to be so OP. I feel like there's no way this doesn't get nerfed. I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think of why they've been buffing Barrage every single patch. I've been trying to figure out, like, why is every patch is Arcane Barrage getting a 20% buff, a 10% buff, 15% buff, because like this is going to be the end result. Like, it's crazy powerful. I mean, look at my HP, right? If we were to do this on a player, 1 barrage pretty much kills a player with those maximum stacks. So I feel like this is likely going to get nerfed. But as far as playstyle, flavor, and fantasy, I think that Arcane Mage is getting to a spot where it's really solid. I think it's really good with a lot of flexibility between different builds and different talent options that I would have to 100% recommend Arcane as a specialization. Now, obviously, you know, it could get nerfed. It probably will get nerfed. And if you're someone who plays to be competitive, super meta and things like that, it still does have some problems, especially if you're, you know, in PvP environments where you have to hard cast a lot. You can be interrupted and shut down. But the reward and the payout factor for Arcane is just so dang high. Like, you get rewarded so heavily when you're actually able to pull off these combos and connect these burst dots together and just absolutely blast people away, that I feel like the rewarding factor of it kind of outweighs the downsides that come with it. So yes, right now it's super OP. I feel like there's no way this doesn't get nerfed. I'm surprised that we haven't seen a significant amount of PvE testing, because this seems ridiculous to me even for PvE, for Arcane, with how much damage you're getting on Barrage. But Arcane is a forerunner right now for specializations to check out for patch 11.1. Now, the next specialization that I wanted to talk to you guys about is on the hunter class, and my mouse wheel is broken, so I have to manually scroll down here. Survival hunter, much like Arcane Mage, has been getting buff after buff after buff, and mostly focusing around Mongoose Bite. And it's starting to scale really out of control. So I just want to show you the potential of what's coming in for survival. And we've seen them also looking at their pack leader hero talent tree the same way as Arcane, and trying to improve the flexibility and build options between the two types of specializations. So with the pack leader, you're calling in all the Leok, the Wyvern, the Boar, the Bear, and they're going to be adding extra effects into the mix. So we'll try this out on a single target dummy as opposed to an AoE, so we can really kind of look at what its single target potential is in this instance. So we'll get our wildfire bombs on cooldown here. So when we use coordinated assaults, we're going to be resetting all of that. We can reset that, apply spearhead, get really big butchery damage up here with tip the spears procs that are coming through, and we can start working towards ramping up our Mongoose Bites, because you really want to stay focused on the damage that Mongoose Bite is doing. We've got Leok in, look at that, 1.1 million just popping in there casually off to the side. Not as sparkly, obviously. I feel like a lot of classes, they really start raining in on AoE. We get the boars called into the side with some animations as well. It definitely fulfills the fantasy, I think, of Rexar. It's still almost entirely passive with the procs that come through. The advantage of that is that you don't need to worry about your gameplay loop changing too dramatically. But the downside, obviously, is that it's not like the most interactive. We called in the Bear here. He's applying the bleed. He's going to smack the target around a little bit. So my hope is that the pack leader will be a bit more viable of a build, although it does have some more downsides compared to other specializations. And I don't know why I don't have a pet bar, but some of those downsides is its defensive capabilities. So shell cover, they've just recently buffed it. It's going to proc more often now, a minute and a half, and it's going to proc at a higher health margin. So once you dip below 60%, you'll get 10% damage reduction. It's just that the damage reduction threshold is not that great. It's not that high. I feel like, you know, the defense from something like Dark Ranger more so for other hunter specs is a lot stronger than this option. And I've seen criticisms as well from other hunters in PvE that this is likely not going to be too substantial. It's kind of like a auto bubble, but it's so small, and with the numbers that we're seeing right now and the buffs that we're seeing to some classes right now, is that I think that it's unlikely that it's going to feel. I think defense is going to be the main issue for pack leaders' viability, whether it's PvE or whether it's PvP. But we are also seeing improvements. Okay, I'm going to have to get this guy, like, how do I get rid of this guy, dude? I don't have a pet action bar. The PTR is bugging out. Sentinel is also seeing some improvements with increasing radius to the lunar circle, which is really nice. So obviously we want to look at the details too, I think. So Raptor Strike, this is honestly on the low end. So you can see the variance in it is really wild. So on a normal hit, I got a 3.6 million, but on a crit, I only got 1.1 million. So there's quite a few inconsistencies with this build. And I think it's likely because of the numbers that are coming in. They seem like they're kind of just all over the place. But with Sentinel, you call in the Lunar Storm, which you've obviously seen, but it's a lot bigger than before. I think the main focus of that is so that when you're pulling big trash packs in Mythic Plus, that you're able to, you know, hit the target more reliably if the mobs are moving around. It's going to make it a bit easier in PvP as well when there's a lot of movement. I am doing, I think, substantially more DPS. Maybe it's my baseline talents, though, are a little bit more preferentiated towards this build. Pack leader might be built more around Mongoose Strike. I think I'm still playing the wildfire bomb charges, but it's still doing quite a significant amount of overall DPS. I think it's a nice hit. I feel like the fantasy improvement for the flavor, you know, with Tyrande being the main focus of Sentinel and now Rexar being the main focus of pack leader, is definitely much improved. Where did my details just reset? I think because of hitting the boss there. So Lunar Storm is still even on single target is still doing my highest damage at 8.23 million. Okay, what is going on with details, bro? Can we just can we chill, bro? I'm just trying to look at my damage breakdown to give you guys the what's up, and like you keep changing my number. Okay, we're resetting all of this. We're gonna look at current segment, and we're gonna do it all over again, okay? Because this is silly that I can't do this. We're gonna get the numbers in for you guys because it's able to get really big crits. To me, like, this patch is kind of, I'm expecting it to be the Hunter patch because Hunters are getting the main rework. And when we remember Dragonflight, assuming that they're designing under like the same types of pretenses that they were for Dragonflight, the reworked spec Ret Paladin in that patch ended up just being the god class. So if we're following those trends, or past what do they say in stocks? Like past success is not indicative of future results or something. But I'm kind of following that line. And with this build, I got a 4.1 million Raptor Strike, which is crazy high. And Lunar Storm is doing substantially, like, #1 damage overall for survival. So to me right now, like, the two main DPS specs that I'm keeping my eyes on are Arcane, for sure, especially with the numbers that are coming through, as well as survival. Marksmanship Hunter, which we can quickly just hop over to and respec to. It feels like Dark Ranger and Sentinel have been balanced out more appropriately over time. Oh, my talent tree is all scuffed from the PTR. Must have reset my talent tree. I don't know if this is going to work, but okay, it's not going to work. But Marksman is improving. Some of the main trade-offs, though, is that Mortal Strike is going to be coming from aim shot and not your pet. I don't know if that's going to end up... I feel like it's going to end up being worse for you, because if you can't get an aim shot off for a while, your Mortal Strike is just going to fall off the target. Advantage, though, if your pet's getting kited, you're going to be able to apply Mortal Strike through another means. And I kind of like Mortal Strike through aim shot. I'm just a bit worried that if it's coming from an aim shot and it's this as powerful Mortal Strike effect as every other kind of baseline one is, that's easier to apply, it's not going to be as competitive. I kind of actually think they should increase the Mortal Strike value on aim shot for Marksmanship Hunter. But they've worked at their talents. They've looked at them, reworked them around the Eagle. It's still a little bit passive. Everything's passive with it, but I think it's likely going to end up being really powerful. They've done some just overall buffs to Warrior. I think Warrior and Death Knight, they've just been getting damage buff, damage buff, damage buff, which to me, I'm sitting back and looking at it and like, this seems kind of weird that they're getting damage buffs when I think the main issues with the Warrior and with the Death Knight have kind of been more around defense and their survivability, but they've just been getting more and more damage. So I'm really curious to see how it plays out. This is kind of just my assessment so far of the changes, because there's just been so many of them, and I've been trying to zone in on what's exactly going on, and I wanted to relay you kind of like a midway update, because we still don't even have an announcement date for the patch just yet. A midway update of how things are looking at the moment, what things have got me the most excited for the next round of changes inevitably I think are going to come through with the raid testing concluding here pretty soon. And then we're going to keep relaying that news to you so you can make the best decision for yourself. So if you want to make sure that you're getting news related to World of Warcraft, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you guys very much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.